Hi, today we're going to be talking about a topic that is very important to Christian living. That's the difference between temptation and testing. Hi, I'm Kenneth Thatcher. I'm a family doctor and Bible teacher. I do videos on faith, health, and success. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, be my friend, and when I create videos like this, you'll be one of the first people to get it. Let's go to the board. We're talking again about testing and temptation, the difference. These two things are things that as Christians we're going to be constantly experiencing, and it's important for us to know the difference so that we can know how to receive and to respond to each of these items when we get them, each of these experiences that we're going to go through. The first difference that I want to consider with you is the author, the source. Where does each of them come from? Testing is always from God. Tempting comes from the devil or his demons. That's the first difference. God never tempts us. God tests us. Another synonym for testing is trial. And God tries us for a purpose. But God never tempts us. God may allow temptation, but God is never the source of temptation. The second difference I want us to consider is the author's purpose. God is the author of testing and trials, and his purpose is to grow us, to mature us, so that we can become more perfect, more like Christ. That's the purpose of God's testing. But the purpose of Satan's tempting is so that we can sin and so we can be destroyed. Temptation is an encouragement to sin. A trial is an opportunity to be tested for growth, for self-assessment, to know how we are, because the first step of growth is actually knowing where one is, understanding where one is, the status that we have, and then from there we can grow. So trials would reveal to us just how we are, and then they'll provide an opportunity for us to grow. The third thing, the author's hope. When God is testing us, what is he hoping that will happen? God, when he tests us, he's hoping that we pass. God hopes that we pass with flying colors. He wants to see us thrive and succeed through it. But when Satan is tempting us, he hopes that we fail. Okay, that we lose our position before God, if that were possible. The fourth point to consider, the right response from us. We should respond when we're tested by rejoicing. Okay, we should rejoice. James chapter 1, and I'll put the passage on the screen. James chapter 1, verse 2 to say around 4, talks about how we should consider it pure joy when we are presented with trials and suffering. And there are many different passages in the scripture that talk about rejoicing in our hardships. And that is because of what happens, the formation, the growth that God is causing to us, that leads to perseverance, endurance, and then we grow and mature in the process. So the right response when we're tested is to rejoice and persevere through it. And the right response when we are tempted is to submit to God and resist the tempter, and he will flee from us. James tells us that. And also we should flee from all sin. The scriptures tell us, Paul specifically tells us to flee from temptation, especially sexual temptation. Okay, so something that I want us to remember here. God will never allow Satan to tempt you and I more than we are able to bear. But with every temptation, God provides a way of escape. We should remember that when we are tempted, we should never say God is tempting us. God never tempts us to sin. God can try us for our growth. When we're tempted, James says we should never say that God is tempting us, but instead when we're tempted, it is usually our desires that are leading us into that temptation, and the devil takes advantage of it. The flesh and the devil work together to create our temptations. But God tries us for our good. So remember this, and when you are faced with a trial, when you're going through a difficulty, you know how to be able to approach it and know that God, who is our Father, is letting us go through it for a reason. There is something that I once heard a man of God say, that everything that a child of God faces is Father filtered. So when you are going through any challenge, know that the God of the universe had to give permission or even orchestrate that challenge to come to us. Even when the devil is tempting us, he must get permission from God to be able to do it. I want you to remember the story of Job and see how Satan had to go and ask for permission from God to even tempt Job. So Satan has a leash on him, and God has that leash in his hand. Satan is not free to do whatever he wants. God has him under control, and when you are tempted, God will give you the power to resist the devil so that he will flee from you. That's it. That's the difference between testing and temptation. I hope this video was a blessing to you. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to help you. I'll put some other videos that I've created in the past that I think will bless you, so check them out. I'll see you in the next video.